So I have only had one bad dog bite in my 15 plus year career. And it was back in the day when I was kind of following the way Cesar Millan used to do things. And I'd show up to a house, and if I felt that I needed to, I would, do the alpha roll or submit a dog like you see Cesar doing. This dog taught me why we don't do that. That there's better ways, and that alpha rolling a dog is just not, it doesn't give you the results you think it does. So there was a boxer, a big boxer, female, who the owners had gone through several trainers, which now I teach my employees, my dog trainers, that not always, but often that is a red flag. If we have someone who has gone through several trainers and they're still not getting results. Occasionally it can be they just picked a couple bad trainers in a row and they get to us and everything goes fine, but most of the time it's a dog owner who is not taking responsibility, and they're blaming the fact that the dog isn't as well behaved as they wish they were on the trainers that they've gone through. Typically they're not following through, they're not following trainers' instructions, and that's why their dog doesn't progress, because the dog always progresses for the trainers but not for them, and then somehow they still blame the trainer. Anyway, that's a side note. Don't be one of those people though. You're not doing yourself any favors. So these people were like that, and the dog had a lot of red flags. He was guarding territory in the house. He was guarding their kids from them. She was picking up tissue papers and stuff like that, and then they couldn't get it away from her. And so whatever she wanted, she could kind of just take and have. And the only way that they would get her to drop things or to do what they wanted was to bribe her with ice, because she loved ice apparently. So there's certainly a time to use bribery to teach dogs that, hey, that's not worth the fight, let's just trade or whatever. But when the dog's 5 years old and they're doing it with many items many times a day, there's a conversation that needs to be had with that dog that, like, hey, this is not your house. You live here, this is our house, and you're part of the family, but it's like letting a 2-year-old kid own the house. It's not gonna go well. And so anyways, all this stuff is going on. The dog grabbed tissue paper, which was one of her deals. I said, okay, I never did it in like a angry or frustrated way, but I said, all right, let me show you how to alpha roll her. We're gonna roll her over, and then we're gonna get this tissue paper out of her mouth. And so I did that, and she dropped it. It worked. And then they were like, okay, I could tell the owners were like, whoa, is he really doing this? And because I was too naive to understand what kind of dog I was dealing with, now I would recognize immediately, like, this is not a dog that I'm gonna push boundaries with a lot today, because there's not enough trust. I gotta wait till she knows me a lot better, plus we're at her house. Like, the odds of me getting bitten, in fact, looking back now, I'm amazed I didn't get bitten faster, and I'm actually thankful that she didn't bite me harder, because she definitely could have. So anyways, I alpha roll her. She gets up, we're training some other things, we go for a walk, we come back, and she does it again. And so she went and grabbed a tissue paper, or was doing something that the owners didn't want her to do, jumping up or something like that. So I went and I alpha rolled her again. And while I had her pinned down, I remember, with this hand, and she really didn't fight me too. It's not like I had to wrestle her. She let me do it fairly easily. But on the second one, she decided she was going to teach me a lesson. And so she grabbed the other hand. I was kind of talking and explaining with this hand, and she just reached up and crunched it. Kind of, I think it was like 2 times. I got my hand out of there, but I didn't I tried to be cool like Cesar Millan and keep my cool. And so this hand is, it's starting to bleed. And she had let me go, and I'm like, it's all right, we'll work through this. And then she reached up and crunched it another couple of times. And by that point, I was like, okay, I think she probably did it a little harder that time, second time too. And I was like, okay, this is a problem. And so I stopped the exercise, and I went to the sink and started washing the blood off my hands. The owner's face was just like, whoa. So anywho, my hand was in her mouth twice, and my hand, as you can see, looks fine. It totally works. Everything's fine, and no long-term impact or damage, I should say. She could have mangled my hand easily, and she didn't. So, you know, she could have also taught me a lesson more gently. She could have. But honestly, I don't know if I would have listened. I was pretty dumb at that time, so I may have just kept going. You know, she just kind of just barely got me. But anyways, I'm grateful for that dog and those customers for teaching me two really important lessons. One, customers are throwing up red flags. I do my best now to not work with them and just let them know, hey, I don't think I'm a good fit for you because you're making excuses for your dog. It doesn't sound like you're ready to own up to this and make your dog own up to the fact that they can do better. So instead of making excuses. So that's one. And then two was when a dog gives you a look. She gave me a look, and there's a difference between a I'm annoyed with you look and I'm gonna hurt you if you don't stop that. That's not gonna fly with me or at my house. And she definitely gave me plenty of those looks, and I ignored them all, and she let it go for a good hour. I think I was at their house for at least an hour, probably more, until she's like, this guy is just not getting it. He doesn't get that this is my house and this is the way we do things, and this has been rewarded, encouraged for a long time, and now you're just gonna waltz in here and alpha roll me and try and take stuff out of my mouth. Like, you know, I'll put up with that for a while, but eventually you gotta knock it off. And so she got me to knock it off. She won for sure. So anyway, that was a difficult lesson to learn. Haven't been bitten since then. She taught me once and for all. I am so much more respectful of dogs' boundaries now, and I'm a much better dog trainer for it. I never want to learn that lesson again, and I hope you never have to learn anything like that either. So thankfully that forced me to reevaluate my Cesar Millan type methods and go like, there's got to be a better way. And there certainly is. There's ways to get much better results much faster with way less stress for the dog, because getting alpha rolled is very either stressful or frustrating depending on the type of dog you're dealing with. And it just doesn't have any long-term effects, in my opinion. What you really need is to build trust with them, build a great relationship, kind of like what you would do with kids. Is you're like, hey, what do you like to do? You like to do this? Cool. I like to do that too. Let's do it. And while we're playing this game together, we can mix in a little obedience. And they don't even realize they're at school, that they're being trained. They just think they're having fun with their new friend. And even these dogs that are very stubborn or independent, strong-willed, they're softies on the inside once you find what gets them going, what they really like. And as long as you can build that friendship, then they're like, cool, I'll do training with you, that's fine. And then if multiple sessions go by and we just have a good time, and then a moment comes where I have to say like, hey, knock it off, that's not okay, they go like, oh, you've always been so nice and we've always had so much fun. When you finally do give a correction or, you know, raise your voice at them a little bit, they go like, oh, you haven't been like that before. Wow, this must really not be something you like. And they were far more willing to do what you're asking, and will work a lot harder to please you, because they don't want to ruin a great training session. The sessions usually are a lot of fun. So when one goes not so fun, they're like, I must have done something to mess up the game. And you guys get back on the same page and you're back at having fun. So I think that covers the story. My hand, my uncle's a chiropractor, and I had dislocated a bone here. There's a bone that kind of floats here, and he told me, yeah, because she dislocated that, you're going to suffer from that probably the rest of your life. If you go snowboarding or you fall down and you put your hands down to brace yourself, it's going to dislocate again. And I was like, great, I got permanent damage from being a stupid dog trainer. And luckily that hasn't been true. luckily it healed up and I never have had an issue since. But I do have some pretty gnarly pictures of this hand swollen like 3 times the size. I didn't have health insurance at the time, and so I just cleaned it myself at the house, which is also not recommended. But I just did what I had to do. I mean, I was coming off of, I was poor at the time. I was very poor, and just started a business and did not have enough money for health insurance. And there was no subsidy like there is now, so I just dealt with it. And luckily, it healed up pretty quick, and I was back to working dogs pretty quickly. And I've kept my hand bite free since then, thankfully. And knock on wood, it stays that way for the rest of my career. And the end. Have a great day.